Millions of Americans are nearing retirement without any savings.
Roughly half of all Americans ages 55 to 66 have nothing saved for retirement.
Spicy, yeah.
O'Connor knew she'd be in that group, adopting and raising 3 children as a single mom.
I have a live for now philosophy, I guess.
How's that serving you now?
Oh, it's horrible.
You can always improve your situation.
For her and others without a nest egg, experts say it's not too late to make a plan.
I know somebody who's still working in their small farm at age 75. Yeah, they raise their own food. They carry like 50 plus bags of feed in a day. Yeah, times are tough, guys. But the older you think and act, the older you will be. It's all about your mindset. Just keep that in mind. Their house is on 3 levels and no challenges there. No scripts, no doctors. A lot of times they catch themselves doing exactly the same arduous tasks that they did like 30 years ago. Now sure, sometimes they wonder why it's taken so much longer. Then they realize that most folks their age wouldn't even attempt it. Don't think old or you'll certainly be old. That's sort of the retirement advice that I got from them. Then again, you have people who retire early. Now another story, a friend of mine who was able to retire at age 49. Now they're 55 years old. How'd they do it? Well, they ate soup and oatmeal while their coworkers went out. They didn't buy hobby toys, just really put their nose to the grindstone and worked as hard as they could. Their investment advice for me? You have to act differently if you want different results. They invested early and often. Their 401ks, started online businesses, small businesses, home-based businesses. They invested in REITs, real estate investment trusts, all sorts of stuff like that. But what do you think, guys? Do you agree? Lists of retirement advice for the year to come gradually all sound the same, but that's not the case this year around. You have high inflation, rising interest rates, and even a full-blown government shutdown to account for. Generally, we're looking at a very uncertain economy that would shake even the most careful retirement planners. But don't forget, guys, your personal situation matters the most. You got to do what's best for you, your finances and your risk appetite. That's what I always say. Really, it's good that you're staying updated. I mean, you're watching this right now, which gives you a real advantage over a lot of people who aren't managing or even planning their retirement. Am I right? Now, if you really want a leg up, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and going ahead and hit that notification bell. That way you're always updated with the latest financial news and retirement advice. And for our loyal viewers, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys on the channel, watching the videos, lighting up the like button. I can't thank you guys enough. Nonetheless, I thought it would be really good to talk about some retirement advice if you're planning to ride off into the sunset in 2023. All right, so first piece of advice, understand sequence of returns risk now. Don't be intimidated, guys. Sequence of return risk is basically a fancy term that financial advisors have been throwing around for years. Now, it might sound like an obscure financial theory, but in 2023, it's very important to understand that this unusual category of risk exists. It has a direct bearing on the wealth of people who plan to retire during the difficult markets that we're facing today. Now, in your 25-year journey to retirement, there's a good chance that the stock market will take a nosedive, also known as a bear market. Now, the theory states that if the market drops happen right when you start to retire, it's going to hurt your finances a lot more than if it occurs later on. Think of it like you're saving money for retirement. Starting early is great because your money has more time to grow thanks to compounding interest, right? But if you're forced to take money out of your retirement fund when the market's doing poorly, it can make a serious dent in your savings, and you won't get the same benefits from compound growth. I mean, so just imagine 2 retirees, both who begin with $1 million in their retirement savings, right? So they each need $50,000 every single year to be able to cover their expenses. Now, investor A experiences a 15% drop in the market during their first year of retirement. As a result, they run out of money by year 18 of retirement. Now, on the other hand, investor B faces the same 15% market drop, but it doesn't happen until their 10th year of retirement. And they still have $400,000 left by the time year 18 rolls around. You see the big difference there, guys? Now, avoiding the risk of bad market timing is not easy. The key is to try to limit how much money you take out of your retirement fund when the market is down, especially in the early years of retirement. That way, you can actually help to protect your nest egg and enjoy the benefits of long-term growth. All right, guys, so the second tip, you got to lose your fear of inflation. You know what really keeps retirees up at night? Inflation, and it's a very legitimate concern. Even the most carefully crafted retirement plans can crumble when the value of your hard-earned savings starts dwindling rapidly. Just last year, in 2022, Americans got a stark reminder of what inflation can do, with the US inflation rate hitting its highest point in 40 years. It got so bad that a quarter of Americans actually said that this high inflation might force them to delay their retirement plans. But here's the thing about inflation. it doesn't affect everybody in the exact same way. Like take the Consumer Price Index, for example. It tries to measure how prices are changing for all sorts of things that people buy. And let's face it, not all of those things are relevant to your life. For some people, the rising cost of everyday items like gas, eggs, and bread could really squeeze their monthly budget. But if you're retired and no longer feeding a whole household, those price hikes, they might not hit you quite as hard. Now, what retired people should really be keeping an eye on are the local property tax rates or the soaring expenses of healthcare. It's crucial not to let your emotions about inflation dictate your financial decisions. Now, a lot of financial experts as well as regular people tend to use the 2 to 3% annual inflation rate as a way to kind of estimate how their budget will change over a 25-year retirement journey. Now, sure, the average consumer price index inflation shouldn't go too far above this level until 2050, but don't bet on it dipping below 2% either. Now, with that said, guys, it definitely helps if you do number 3, delay starting Social Security as much as possible. Social Security is guaranteed income that is adjusted for inflation, which makes it incredibly valuable. Social Security's cost of living adjustment for 2023 was a pretty sizable 8.7%, which just shows how the program can kind of help you to cope with rising inflation. And the general rule of thumb, delay taking benefits as long as possible, especially in the light of high inflation. So today's retirees have a good shot at living past the break-even point where the larger checks that you get when you start delaying actually starts benefiting you and making up for the smaller checks that you passed up on in your early to mid 60s. Now, here's the second part of the plan. Tap other sources of retirement income before you start Social Security benefits like your 401k or individual retirement account, IRA. Now, guys, I want you guys to fully understand, I am not an investment advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing with you guys some tips that I personally believe in. And this is what I plan on doing with my own money. Not to mention what I've been told by some very successful people who are currently retired right now. Now, a friend of mine, he retired at 56 years old 7 years ago. Now, it definitely would be great, as you can imagine, right? Now, they also advise delaying Social Security for as long as possible. They also say not to worry about having a purpose in life. When asked what they do with their spare time, they say, anything I want, nothing more to explain. All right, so number 4, rethink where you want to live. Now, the world of housing expenses is definitely going through some major shifts right now. Mortgage rates are shooting up, and in many areas that used to be red hot for real estate, prices are actually going down. However, it's worth noting that housing costs are still sky high in a lot of places, and that is not good news for retirees. These changes in the housing market might not just be a passing phase related to the current economic ups and downs. So it's really important. It's very smart. It's a smart move to give your retirement location a second thought and maybe even consider different options for where you might want to enjoy your well-deserved golden years. Now, also there's number 5, your healthcare game plan. So in the United States, when you hit 65 years old, you become eligible for signing up for Medicare. And there can be some consequences if you miss the enrollment window. So to make sure you guys are covered, it's a really good idea to create a plan for signing up in the months leading up to your 65th birthday. That'll give you enough time for your coverage to become active. But enrolling in Medicare is just the start of the retirement healthcare strategy. So Fidelity estimates that the average American couple will end up spending around $315,000 on various healthcare expenses during their retirement years. That's a lot of money. Now, these costs include things like co-pays, extra premiums, and medical bills that are not covered by insurance. And very interestingly, this figure has gone way up from $300,000 in the previous year. Now, if you happen to retire before hitting that 65-year-old milestone, you need to figure out your health insurance options until Medicare kicks in. Are you guys familiar with something called COBRA, or how the Affordable Health Care Act, the ACA, works? Well, it's also worth checking if your former employer provides any retiree health coverage. The key is to create a plan for these different scenarios before they become a necessity. Your health is way too important to leave that to chance. It's also not a bad idea to consider part-time work. That will be number 6. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. According to the EBRI study, a whopping 7 out of 10 workers have plans to stay active in some capacity once they've officially retired. If it works for you, keeping that income stream flowing is a pretty smart move. Every dollar you earn is another dollar you can add to your retirement savings, which becomes especially important when the stock market takes a dip. The ideal time to figure out what kind of part-time retirement gig suits you is while you're still in the workforce. That's when you have easy access to your professional contacts, you can use your company email, and attend industry events. Start networking with an eye towards consulting or maybe even some part-time work. Let it be known that you're open to dedicating 5 to maybe 10 hours a week to taking on occasional projects. It's a very proactive way to set the stage for a fulfilling retirement. In general, it helps if you know the kind of retirement lifestyle that you're aiming for. Is it going to be luxury, modest, or maybe somewhere in between? You really want to visualize what your life is going to look like. Don't make the mistake of overestimating your retirement nest egg. It's very crucial to have a clear understanding of how much you'll be spending once you retire. Think about your plans. Will you be traveling, pursuing hobbies, covering daily expenses, or pinching pennies? Can you afford to do what you really want to do? So here's the deal, guys. If you estimate that your monthly living expenses will be, say, like $3,000 per month, but they actually end up totaling $6,000 per month, you are going to burn through your savings much faster than expected. Now, this could seriously hinder you from enjoying the retirement that you envisioned. So consider this scenario, right? Your homeowner's insurance premiums doubled or even tripled. Or maybe you didn't properly factor in inflation when calculating your living expenses. And don't forget about property taxes and car insurance rates that tend to creep up over time. To avoid getting caught in a financial bind, take a very close look at all housing related costs, including potential future inflation. Now, it's a very smart move to plan for all sorts of possibilities and expenses to ensure a comfortable retirement. In the first few years of your retirement, you're likely to be in your best physical, mental, and physical shape. So it's important to leverage this period of good health and strength because this is when you can pursue those dreams and your goals that you've been looking forward to all your life. Whether it's traveling, gardening, playing golf, fishing, or any other hobby that you happen to cherish, these early retirement years are the time that you actually want to make those dreams a reality. Now, the truth is, as we age, our physical and mental abilities may decline, and we might not be able to do all of the things that we once enjoyed. So seize the opportunity to relish the vitality and the vigor of your youth in your early stages of retirement. While you can always check your bank account to see how much money you have, you can't always predict how much time you'll have left to spend it. It's all about making the most of the present while you still have the energy and the health to do so. So what do you guys think? Now, if you guys want more information on this topic, if you'd like to learn ways of making money online, if you'd like to learn how to create maybe a home-based business while you're at home, even if you've never started a business before, definitely drop me a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like for the video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.